With the release of The Incredibles 2 this weekend, that means there are 20 Pixar movies. And that means it is time to stand here and talk about 20 movies. Today we're going to rank all 20 Pixar movies from worst to best, including The Incredibles 2. Before we get into this video, make sure to leave your ranking down below and how would you rank all 20 of these Pixar films. So let's have a respectful conversation down below and how would you rank all 20 films. So let's get this list started with number 20, Cars 2. I've seen Cars 2 once, and that was good enough for me. Coming at number 19 is Cars. The first Cars movie is obviously better than the second Cars movie, but still, something about this movie is just, it's boring. There's a lot in the middle of this movie that's downtime, and that has to do with Lightning McQueen fixing the road and him trying to pay his debt to this town. It takes a large chunk away from the fun race moments of the movie and him trying to fix the town that he destroyed. It takes away from me enjoying this movie. I enjoy the racing aspect of the Cars movies, but when we get him fixing the road and having downtime, there's a large chunk of this movie that just feels really downright boring and bland, and some of the characters are really corny and stupid, and I just can't connect with the Cars movies. Coming at number 18 is Ratatouille. Now, Ratatouille is a movie that a lot of people do enjoy, but it's a film that I just couldn't be invested in. I do not like the characters at all. I do admire Remy's motivation to cook and do better for himself, but the character that he is paired with in this movie, the young chef, is so obnoxious and they just don't pair well. They're completely different characters, and I understand that Remy is trying to help the young boy learn too, but at the same time it just makes it for an unbalanced relationship. And we're spent too much time trying to get this young boy to learn how to cook and Remy kind of controlling him, and at times it is a bit charming and fun to watch, and trying to watch the young boy go through the learnings of becoming a good chef. But when it comes down to it, I did not like the characters. I did admire the story and some of the funny elements, but it is a movie that didn't have a lasting impression on me. Coming at number 17 is A Bug's Life. When I always think of Pixar movies and I try to write them down, A Bug's Life is one I always forget about. And that's because there's nothing about this movie that is memorable. The characters are cool. I recently sat down and watched this on Disney Channel because it just appeared on Disney Channel one day. And I do like some of the characters. Some of them are funny, but there isn't a scene that stands out in this movie that makes it for a fun Pixar movie. There are a lot of cool characters, but there isn't that one scene or one character that stands out to make it a Pixar movie that I want to watch over and over again. When I think of Toy Story or The Incredibles, I think of cool characters and cool scenes that stand out. Nothing in A Bug's Life stands out for me. The animation is great for its time, but that is about it. It looks good, but it's not a memorable Pixar movie. Coming at number 16 is Monsters University, the sequel to Monsters, Inc. And this movie just didn't create that charm that Monsters, Inc. had. I really enjoyed the characters for Monsters, Inc. and we get a younger version of them at Monsters University learning to become scarers. This movie focused a lot on having fun and learning to be a scarer, and didn't really do a great job of building up the relationship between Mike and Sully, which you felt like they were a great pair in Monsters, Inc. But here in Monsters University, the movie was more focused on having fun, like a university should be, but when you are introducing the characters that you've already known before, you expect them to build a relationship towards something that you already know, and I felt like we did not get that with Monsters University. Coming at number 15 is The Good Dinosaur. Now, I admire The Good Dinosaur. I think it is a beautiful looking film, some cute characters, and there are some hilarious moments in here as well. But this is a Pixar movie that just feels off. It feels different. Even the animation in this movie feels completely different than what they've done before in the past. It's very cartoony when other things that they've done before in the past kind of feel more realistic and grounded. Here it feels like it's from a different company, and it does have some Pixar charms with its relationships and deeper themes, but the animation and the overall feel for this movie just feels completely different than what they've done before in the past. Coming at number 14 is Cars 3. Now this is a really big surprise for me. I actually really enjoyed this movie. I thought the relationships between Lightning McQueen and this young car that was trying to help Lightning McQueen, I thought it was a good relationship, and it also had a really good message. Learning that Lightning McQueen's time is probably over and he was trying to pass the baton to someone else. And I loved the characters, I loved the relationships, and I loved the message it's told. I was really surprised with this movie because I did not like Cars 2, and I really did not like Cars either, but I came out really enjoying Cars 3. It was less Tow Mater, more Lightning McQueen with the relationships with a car that we didn't know, which I think was fresh as well. Coming in at number 13 is Finding Dory. I love Dory, I love Nemo, I love Marlin, I love all the characters in the Nemo, the sequel, the two movies that we've got so far. But Finding Dory just didn't create that charm that Finding Nemo had. I feel like that same issue with Monsters University. They were trying to recreate that spark that we got in the first movie, and they just didn't do that. Some of the new characters are cool, but I think the flashbacks kind of hindered this movie a little from the current scenes that we were getting. She was trying to piece things together, and they felt so abrupt. They felt just like they hit you really fast, and you were enjoying certain sequences that were going on currently, but you were hit with those flashbacks, which I felt like were needed for this movie, but they just felt abrupt and out of place because you were enjoying certain things. They kind of took you out of the movie. I did enjoy the characters. I did enjoy seeing these characters back on screen after all the years, but it didn't create that charm that Nemo had. Coming in at number 12 is WALL-E. Now, WALL-E is regarded as one of Pixar's best movies, and I can see why. The first half of the movie, when he is alone and discovers Eve, I think is some of Pixar's best they've ever done. But I just really didn't like the second half of the movie. When he travels to a different location, I think it completely shifts the movie. I thought the first half of the movie was breathtaking. It was beautiful. I loved watching WALL-E discover things. I thought it was adorable. I thought it was fun. It was charming. I loved the character of WALL-E. And the character of WALL-E really stays the same throughout the whole movie, but the movie really does change for me. I thought the first part of the movie was just more grounded and realistic, and then it kind of shifted a little bit towards the second half of the movie. But still, WALL-E is a beautiful, fun movie, and I love the character. WALL-E is one of the best characters Pixar has done. Coming at number 11 is Brave. Now, Brave stands for a lot of people as Pixar's worst movie, and I can understand it's something completely different than what they've done before in the past. And yes, the story shifts to where it becomes a mom changing into a bear, and you got to kind of build that relationship. But I like the world that they built. I like the look of the film. I like the character of Merida. I think she stands for a lot for young girls, and I love watching her kind of do her own things and make her own fate as well. And I love the look of the film. And I think it has to do with me loving this film a little more than others, is I love that era that Brave takes place in. And I understand that the story does shift in the second half of the movie, kind of like WALL-E for me. It's something that I really don't enjoy for the second half. I enjoy the first half a lot more than the second half of the movie, but they do have some really good relationships between her mom and the bear, and you feel like there's a lot at stake going on between the relationship. She needs to cure her mom before she actually stays a bear forever. We don't want that to happen, but the story does shift, and it is a little abrupt, and I would like to see a little more of Merida making her own choices, and then instead of trying to help someone else out, because that would feel like that was the message for the first half of the movie, was her trying to create her own fate, and then it kind of shifted in the second half. Coming at number 10 is Coco. Coco was a big surprise for me. I was really emotionally scarred from this movie. It was a big surprise, and I was just, the tears were falling down my face after watching this movie. It was so sad and so realistic at times as well. It was really relatable about a family and dealing with loss and love and acceptance. And so I really enjoyed Coco. This is a beautiful movie, Great world building. They explored the world so well. And when it got to the end of the movie, I was invested in all the characters, the family members, the extended family members, everybody involved in this film. And it led to a very emotional, powerful ending that just made me think, wow, Coco is a great Pixar movie. Coming at number 9 is Inside Out. Inside Out is a clever movie. It's a really well told story. It's probably one of their best written movies because these characters are so complex and they're so different from each other. Each one of them represents part of Riley. And so when you have all these different characters like anger and disgust and joy and sadness, they're all different. They have to be different and they look different. The animation style for them is different as well. But each one of them is an integral part to the story, and I love each one of these characters. As Joy leads the front for all of the characters, she is probably the biggest part in this movie. And her journey with sadness is an interesting one because they're so different from each other. They have to find that common balance to help each other out. And I loved exploring that. And I loved seeing how each character is missing how it affects Riley as well. I thought that was very smart for Pixar. And then we got the introduction of Bing Bong, which was so cool. I think he was a very cool character and someone that represents your childhood, and he brought some emotional moments as well. So this movie had a lot of things going for it. It had some really great relationships, really great writing, and some heavy emotional moments as well. This movie looks beautiful too, and this is probably one of Pixar's smartest movies. Coming at number 8 is The Incredibles 2, which is Pixar's newest film. And this is one of their best sequels too, because I was disappointed with Dory and Monsters University, and so I was a little bit worried for Incredibles 2. And I felt like they did a great job handling this movie. They created that charm from the first movie. It did lack a interesting villain, one that we could connect with, but I did like the direction for the screenslaver, and I did like the outfit as well. And this movie also had some off-side characters as well, like some of these new supers that they were being introduced to. They were just kind of different from the regular animation style that we got for the Parr family. But Jack is hilarious. I like his relationship with Edna, probably the highlight of the movie. And and they create that same family dynamics that they did for the first one. The action moments are thrilling, the comedy's there. Jack is the best part of this movie. And overall, I just really loved The Incredibles 2. And I was really happy that it was a good movie because it could have gone Finding Dory's route or Monsters University's route as well. Coming at number 7 is Up. Up hits you right away in the beginning with the feels. This is probably the worst opening sequence in terms of how it makes me feel, because right away this movie makes you feel sad, and that sets up why Earl is doing what he's doing, and he is going on this adventure because it means something to him. This movie means something to everybody, and watching him take his house and be so determined to go to one spot in the world, just one spot with his house, it's emotional because it means something to his life and his love, and you want him to succeed. You want him to get there, and he is so determined. Nothing will stop in his way. When things are halting his journey, it's sad because you want him to find peace and happiness in life. When he gets there, you feel awe, you feel happy, and the character of Russell really challenges him, and Russell is one of the best Pixar movie characters as well. And we got Doug the dog, who talks as for some of the funniest Pixar moments as well. So all these different characters come together to create a very emotional, powerful, uplifting movie. For Pixar's list of movies, Up is a terrific movie. It looks beautiful. Coming at number 2 is Toy Story 2. I remember seeing this one I remember buying the VHS for this movie, and I remember going to Kmart as a kid, and my local Kmart had this Little Caesar section to the Kmart, and we would go there, and on the weekends we would order pizza, and they would have like this really tiny TV playing, and they would constantly play Toy Story 2. So I've watched Toy Story 2 over and over again because my family loves shopping. When I was younger, not so much now, but we would watch Toy Story 2 over and over again. And I love Toy Story 2. It's a fun movie. It builds on what the first movie already did, introduces new characters like Jessie and Bullseye. And I think that all the characters are really well done. They're so memorable and help the movie grow. And then it does add for some emotional moments as well, especially with Jessie when they're learning more about her and her backstory and how she was lost. That's a sad moment as well. But it takes the characters that we already knew, Woody and Buzz Lightyear, really makes them grow, really builds that relationship, because it was a little bit rocky in the first movie, and now they have time to kind of build a stronger relationship, and we get some really fun characters. Some characters are off doing their own thing and they're not together, which I do kind of miss them together, like Woody and Buzz. They're kind of off doing something different, but they're all trying to get to one central location. I do miss that, but I do like Woody learning about himself as well and how he was such a big icon before, and he didn't really even know about that, and learning about Jessie and Bullseye, and then watching Buzz grow with some other characters too. So at times I do miss them together, but I do love how other characters are becoming friends with other characters as well. Toy Story 2 is a beautiful looking film. It's great, it's fun, it's got some good character relationships. Overall, is a really good sequel. Coming at number 5 is Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo is a really touching movie, and kind of like Up, it kind of hits you with the feels right away. It also sets up how Marlin feels about his son Nemo and why he's so protective and why he doesn't want him to do anything in the world. He wants him to stay right by his side. And so it's so hard for Marlin to let go. And when he does let go, things happen. And it kind of sets up the movie, and he has to go on this journey to find his son. And along the way, he meets all these different characters, like Crush and the shark. I love Marlin's determination to find his son. It's a really well told part of the movie. And when he does find him, you're so happy, and it creates that emotional bond between them too. And number 4 is The Incredibles. The Incredibles create such a great family dynamic, having these average family members have a little twist on them. They have superpowers, and they're trying to learn how to balance their powers as well as being an average family. And they're having a struggle with that because they want to use their powers, but they also don't want to draw attention to themselves. And Mr. Incredible takes a job where he's off doing a mission and fighting off against a villain. And so when they all get together to fight the villain, and at the end as well, I love when they're all together because they really understand each other, and it really does feel like a family with issues, a family that's not perfect, and really makes it relatable and realistic. And I love moments where Dash and Violet are by themselves, kind of doing their own thing and trying to survive as well, because it really builds them up as well. So The Incredibles does a great job of having an average family with superpowers and trying to have them struggle a little bit to find that balance in life of superpowers and an average life as well. And they do a great job of exploring that. This movie is hilarious. Jack is cute. Dash is awesome. And they do a great job of creating an iconic Pixar movie. Coming in at number 3 is Monsters, Inc. Monsters, Inc. is a very fun movie. I've watched this movie constantly because I used to work at a daycare, and we had a very select few DVDs to play, and Monsters, Inc. was one of them for us. So I felt like every Friday we would watch Monsters, Inc. over and over again, and I never got bored. I never got bored watching Monsters, Inc. because Mike Wazowski is so fun, Sully is so serious, and then you got Boo, who in the middle kind of softens Sully up a little bit. And I love that when, as a kid, you thought sometimes that there might be something in your closet. And this movie explores that everything might not be as bad as it seems. They try to scare you, but they have a reason trying to scare you. And when you get to actually meet them and who they really are, they're not that scary. They're all really cuddly and cute. And I love the world building. I love that everything is like monsters, and the newspapers, the television, everything is regarded as monsters, and how humans are the monsters. So it's an interesting story. Kind of flips the script a little bit on what kids views as monsters, and it's the monsters viewing the kids as monsters. So I like that tell, and I like how they kind of explore that, and I like how they explore the world. It's a great movie. It's one of Pixar's earliest films, and I think I'm drawn more to their early films as more to their most recent movies. Because if you look at my list so far, Incredibles, Nemo, Toy Story, that's some of the earlier films, and I feel like they did the best when they were in the early stages of Pixar. Coming in at number 2 is Pixar's first movie, Toy Story. Toy Story is a movie that is probably one of the biggest animation movies ever. It has characters that are so iconic that they're even getting their own attraction at Disney World. And it takes things that kids have, toys, and creates a story based around toys, and how when you're not with them, they might be doing something else. And I think that drew to the attention of the kids, because kids have toys. I got toys, I'm looking at them right now, and they just, kind of wonder, do they do anything when I'm gone? I've wondered that before, and I wondered that after seeing Toy Story. I think Toy Story might have been the first movie I saw in theater. The characters of Buzz Lightyear and Woody have stood the test of time. This movie has stood the test of time. It's, when you watch it, nothing about this movie feels dated. The jokes are there. This movie is hilarious. It has good relationships that start off really rocky. They don't want to associate with each other at all. And they got to build to a point where they understand each other and they're there for someone else besides themselves, and that is Andy. And this movie it's terrific. I could talk about this movie all day, but you guys probably heard why Toy Story is so great. The characters, the relationships, the animation, the jokes, the story, the dramatic moments as well, how dark it gets towards the end of the movie with Sid. There's so many things about this movie that just stand out as one of Pixar's best movie. But my favorite Pixar movie is, coming in at number 1, Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3 is Pixar's best movie to me. And I have a reason for that, and I have probably one of my best movie experiences ever. When I graduated from high school, Toy Story 3 was in theaters, along with the A-Team and some other movies as well. And so I graduated on a Saturday, and I had a graduation party in the middle of the day, and at the time, everybody was throwing graduation parties into the night, like ragers and stuff, and I got invited to a bunch of them, and I was debating, do I want to go do this stuff? And then my friend asked me, do you want to go see Toy Story 3? So we went to go see Toy Story 3 instead of going to graduation, and we went to sneak into the A-Team afterwards. And in the middle of Toy Story 3, the moment where they're in the kind of like the furnace and they're going down and they're like about to pretty much die, and I look over at my friend, he looks over at me, and we're just like bawling our eyes out because they're accepting their fate. They're ready to just kind of end it all. And then at the end, when he gives his toys away, I cry again. So I cried like twice in this movie, but it was one of the best movie experiences ever. It took the characters after all these years, made me love them once again, and created that charm and feel for the first 2 movies, and that was so successful. I was afraid that they wouldn't create that charm again, and they did, and it was so amazing. I love the feeling of Toy Story 3, and I love that they had this kind of dilemma. Do we move on from Andy, or are we obligated to be there for Andy? And for having them be toys, they created a complex situation for them, and it did a great job at that. So there you guys have it, all 20 Pixar movies ranked from worst to best. How would you rank these movies? Make sure to leave your ranking down below. I know that some of these movies are lower than others, and some movies are higher than they should be, but I enjoy them for what they are. Thank you guys for watching this ranking video. If you guys like more ranking videos like this, check out my channel below. You can find the link for other ranking videos and the playlist for all my ranking videos. You guys are the best as always. This is Just Watch Movies, and you guys stay classy too.